Mark, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're muted.
I will try that again.
Thank you.
I will call to order the regular meeting of the Lake Worth Beach Community Redevelopment Agency of Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Would you please call roll, Emily?
Mr. Mark Rickards,
Here.
Mr. Drew Bartlett,
Here.
Miss Leah Furch,
Here.
Mr. Brendan Lynch,
Virtually present.
Mr. Tom Copeland. Is Tom present? No.
No.
Not yet.
And Mr. Brent Whitfield. And
He's
Miss
just getting on right now.
Okay. And Carla Bloxon.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, this time let's have any additions or deletions or reordering. Is there any suggestions or recommendations from the board? I have one, and that's just not seeing John Paxman. I'd like to postpone the presentation to the next agenda, if that's not objectionable from anyone else.
I'll second that.
Okay. Actually, am I allowed to make that motion? Am I allowed to do that as the acting chair? Okay, if someone would make that motion.
Yeah, I'll move that we postpone John's recognition in light of him not being available. And I'd also like to, well, let's do this one and then, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, but if there's any other changes to the agenda, we need to hear it.
Yeah, the other one I was like to see if we want to consider moving action agenda item D forward. But actually, I withdraw that. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead on.
Okay, so are you making a motion to?
I will move to table John's recognition, John Paxman's recognition.
Okay, we have a second on that.
Second, Drew.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes. It's the agenda as adopted, except for presentation item A, which is moved to the August meeting. Okay, on minutes. Has everyone reviewed the April 13th minutes? And if so, please bring forward any changes or looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the April 13th minutes.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
That's fine.
Thank you, Commissioner Bloxon. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Same thing for May 11th. If everyone has reviewed it, please make any changes if necessary. If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move to approve the Tuesday, May 11th, 2021 minutes as presented.
Second, Brendan.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So we'll move on to the presentations category 5B. Revenue presentation.
It's coming.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you just put it in slide mode though? Please.
It's in slide mode on my end. Is it in slide mode on your end? Yes.
No, but that's okay. Okay. And I apologize for the people who are sitting in the audience. This is the first time we've Zoomed and done a presentation. So just a quick overview of some of the highlights from this year regarding the CRA budget. So I'm happy to announce that for the 8th year in a row, both the values and the revenues have increased. The revenue double digits. The values in the city rose approximately 7%, and in the CRA they rose 8.6%. And just some more information on there, you know, tax exempt value is up to $99 million. It was 94 last year. And that can be because there's more homestead properties or more, you know, nonprofits or governmental entities such as ourselves owning property. If you could forward, please. So these are just two really basic ways to just show you how the TIF has risen from 2012 till 2021. We've had some really nice increases, and they've been steady, and they've been gradually increasing, which I think is a really positive, something to positively note. In comparison to years before that, we kind of went up and down, kind of really swinging with the market and the foreclosures, et cetera. This slide just shows you the tax value is the orange line, and the total value is the green line. And of course, the yellow line is the base value with which we started with back in 2009. Our total value back then was 174 million, and now it's up to 439 million. And you can just kind of see how the base value and the total values have kind of switched places, meaning that more of our value today is from TIF versus what the base was back in 2012. You can move it forward, please.
Recording. Give me one moment. I am frozen. My apologies. Oh.
Okay. Property disposition, as many of the board members know, if you could go back one, that'd be great. Let's see, starting in 2017, we did approximately 3 different kinds of lines of credit to purchase properties within the district. The specific property shown here is the future of Deco Green, which goes to the City Commission for another first reading next week. This was bought with $2.4 million of line of credit funds. The result will be, I think it's actually more now, somewhere in the range of 120 to 130 residential units. Some office, obviously ground floor retail. The investment in this will be at a minimum of $32 million. The new rendering, which I will send you if I have not already, actually has another building in the front, taking some of the green space away because the City Commission didn't think the green space was really in the right place on Dixie Highway, but they did think the building was too tall. So the developer has taken the top, the 7th floor off and created a smaller building in the front of, I believe, 3 stories, but it's still 6 stories and it's still over 120 units. If you can move it forward, please. There we go. Okay, we actually have quite a bit going on here on Lake and Lucerne. These properties on Lake and Lucerne, so there was maybe like 1 or 2 that were bought with NSP dollars, neighborhood stabilization, but the rest of them were bought with line of credit dollars, and you can see all the different addresses there on the screen. We have probably 3, we do have 3 separate developers working right now. We have Sky Garden, which is the one that's going on 15 Northeast Street, which is next to another development that is also 3 stories. So there'll be a number of live work units on those two sites. Then we have Village Flats, which was going to be between three separate sites, multifamily between E and F, D and E, and then C and D, for a total of 44 multifamily units. Because of the market and because of construction costs and a couple other things that we'll talk about a little later, the developer's actually proposing to change that development from 44 multifamily uses to 17 townhome uses. And we'll discuss that later on in our board meeting tonight. If you can move it forward, please. Okay, some completed projects. Obviously, this is the mid. Our investment in this was $1.5 million. We used some of our line of credit money and also some NSP2, and we're giving TIF rebate, which you'll see for the first time in the budget this particular year. The affiliated development, their costs came at over $47 million. And our market value from this particular property went from 3.2 to 18 million. Next, please. Alora, which is the sister building to the One, and the One is having a grand opening for 3 of their ground floor businesses this Friday. You have a flyer at all of your stations there. Alora is another 12 units joining the One, which I believe is 14 units. They're luxury condos just south of the just east of the downtown. And we incentivize this particular project and the One with a $100,000 infrastructure grant.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Next, please. I feel like we're going to explode.
One moment, please.
Okay. Another investment done by the CRA. The CRA investment in this particular project, which is the Bohemian, which will be built right across the street, an investment of $1.8 million, again, through a development grant and some NSP dollars for demolition. It also includes a TIF rebate until 2031. Their cost going into that particular project right now is at $49 million, and that will be over 200 multifamily units, some ground floor retail, a garage that we will share with the city for public parking. And also there will be close to 50 workforce housing units in that particular property, which will be rent controlled for 30 years. Next, please. Gulfstream Hotel, another CRA project that we're investing some of our dollars in. Our investment, according to the development agreement this far, is $1.8 million. It's through a development grant, and we also have promised a TIF increment rebate until 2031. I believe the plans have changed somewhat since we've done this slide on the lower right-hand corner. But we do not have a date yet for it to go to commission, but it will be an $80 million project. This is also just pictures of some other future developments west of Dixie and on Lake and Lucerne. We have Madeline's Place, which we bought for a little over $300,000, trying to make that the home for inner city innovators and also some artist workspace. Quite honestly, we're having some problems with the budget. We have grant money to do some demolition and to do some construction on the building. The prices came back probably about 3 times more than we thought they would. So we'll be talking to you about that pretty soon. And also the Perch, which is the property that's being proposed for development. It's by the Circle. The developer Inhabit with Tim Carey, who's going to be on our call later on. We've sat down with the mayor, who has vocally had some issues with this particular development being there, as it is the entranceway to the city. And I think that we've worked out a lot of the issues there. So it will be redesigned. And once it is, we will bring that to you to take a look at. Next, please. We'll also be talking about this later on this evening. This is 1000 Lake Avenue, kind of our baby, who we bought many, many years ago after 9 attorneys purchased the building and then left all the windows and doors open for several years. It's historic. As you can see from the pictures, it's come a very long way with Oak Lane Partners and Bob and Shaw taking the time to really fix it up the right way, and having to go through, you know, historic for every kind of step along the way. And we'll have an update for you on that at the end of the meeting. Next, please. And this is just some, you know, we bought it for $850,000. To date, Oak Lane Investment has invested over $2.4 million. Next, thank you. 6th and Dixie, we're still working with Mr. Vito Giannoli, who is actually still purchasing properties down there. I think to date he has approximately 18 properties that he has bought. To date, he has gone ahead and built the corner out for retail, which is of course our Dunkin' Donuts with the drive-through. He has some other retail clients which are interested in the area, just a little, let's see, southwest of there, where the old electric substation is. And then the building on the upper right-hand corner is a very early version of what his mixed-use building would be, including apartments. Next, please. This is a snapshot of some of our NSP homes, and we kind of just put this in here to show you how we bought foreclosed homes, some of them for nothing, some of them for, you know, $11,000, $22,000. Our increase of market price over the purchase price is an increase of 906%, an increase in real estate taxes of 420%. And the average market rate per home just for these 24 has gone all the way up to $218,000, and that's average. Next, please. Some other grant recipients that we've helped these past few years. We have Dave Matthews, 112 increase in market value since the improvements that he's done on it. We have Valley View Construction, excuse me, a facade and an interior improvement grant for $35,000. These 2 parcels now have a market value of $2.8 million with an increase of 107%. And the one which is the sister to Allura that we spoke about earlier, the CRA was able to grant them $100,000 for an infrastructure grant. The market value right now is $514,000. It's got to be more than that, with an increase of 1,124%. So there should be some zeros there. Next, please. So all of this is to show you what this slide has, which is economic development grants from 2017 to 2021. That's about 5 years. So for every dollar the CRA has invested, the private sector has invested 24. So it shows you the amount awarded from the CRA over all of these years is about $9 million, but the private investment is over $236 million. And that's just for the economic development. Next slide, please. This is for the facade grants. It also includes tenant improvement and signage. Over the past 5 years, we've awarded 21 of those grants. For every dollar that we've put in, the private sector has put in $12. The award amounted to date is a little over $350,000, but the private investment has been over $4.6 million. Next, please. This is just a snapshot of our grant revenue. You know, obviously we get money from the city and the county, and we get some donations, but also a lot of our money comes in through grants. And since 2008, really since 2010, we're going to say, the CRA has brought in over $35 million in grants. And this has gone to things such as banners, new light poles, parking, feedings, wraps of utility boxes, movies for the neighborhood, trash cans, benches, and playgrounds. And I believe that is it. Does anybody have any questions regarding the revenue presentation? Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. I don't know if we can post this to our website.
It is posted to the website.
It is under backup. Okay. It's a slideshow.
I'm on the website, so under current upcoming projects.
Emily, do you know where it is on the website in particular?
The presentation has not been posted to the website, just the
Not
budget
the
memo.
presentation, the meeting itself.
It's under meetings and agendas on the homepage. If you click on that, it'll
Okay.
bring you right to tonight's meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, for if just it's my only a comment to you, Emily, and to Joan. I think this would be amazing to post to Facebook, to our website. There's the leveraging of dollars that I'm a charts guy, very impactful. So I mean, I think we can commit to do that, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
and this is one of our first meetings with members of the public here. I agree. I had the same thought. It's kind of, we're kind of bridging the gap today. I'm sorry you couldn't see that presentation, but we are going to put it online.
But I mean, going forward, we have other presentations that are in on Zoom that I can look at on my
Yes, it's under meetings and agendas.
agenda. And is there Zoom link in there?
Yeah, I just asked you to mute so we don't get feedback. Okay, any other comments or thoughts for Joan? Okay, seeing none. That's impressive, Joan. Thank you for putting that together, and thank you everyone else who helped. Let's move on to the discussion agenda. Budget for fiscal year 2022.
If it's okay with me, Mr. Emily,
I'll help
can you-
her. I'll help her.
Thank you. She's coming. We have our, for the board, we have our proposed operating budget, we have our capital budget, and we have our debt service budget, all of which we'll just kind of skim over tonight. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to stop me along the way. This is kind of the typical way we do it every year, but obviously we can always change things if you would like to. I kind of just go through all the highlighted areas, things that have changed, things that have a lot of different components to it. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me along the way. So first, we're going to take a look at the revenues. From the county, we have 1.9 million coming in. We have some small revenues of interest and donations. We have the city TIF share of just over 2 million. We have 80,000, which is grant revenue, and that is some demo money we got from the Solid Waste Authority, and then a little use of fund balance. The fund balance, though, is actually only there because some of our commercial grants weren't able to be closed out this year, so we're going to carry them over till the following year. Yeah. Sure.
Can you talk about the city TIF share, just for members of the public to understand what that is?
That is the increase in value since our base year back in 2001. The increment from the values increasing over that baseline of $174 million that was originally frozen and is now, I believe I said 439 million. I just said it, but that's what our taxable value is, the value that we've brought since that time. Expenses, there's a few little changes in administration as far as salaries, wages, life and health insurance. We have some, a little bit of increases there due to some staffing. Professional services and legal stay about the same. City admin charges, that 20,000 there pays for our annual audit, which is still not completed for last year, but we have enough information for us to feel pretty confident that we can move forward with this budget. Nothing really changes too significantly except when you get to the promotional activity. So that takes a pretty big jump from 34,000 up to 79. And that is because on top of our usual things like doing Sun Sentinel ads and papers, banners and marketing materials, we also are planning to do an ADA compliant website finally. It's long overdue, so we budgeted 30,000 for that just to be on the safe side. We've got some quotes from different special districts around the area who have already gone through that. So we thought 30,000 would be a safe amount. Nothing else really changes. Small books, you know, IT, media, operating supplies, all of those stay basically the same. Like I said, your biggest increase was for the new website. Now we get kind of down into what's I think a little bit more fun into the programs. Our professional services goes up from 45 to 55. We budgeted 55 because the L&M project is still a little bit in limbo. I was hoping to have some information for you tonight from Treasure Coast in regards to a public charrette, but they weren't able to pull it all together in time. So we will be discussing that at the next meeting. But in an effort to move that forward, I am suggesting that we put $55,000 in the budget in case we do decide to go the charrette route and do those public meetings for L&M. Under economic development and housing, we budgeted 1.5. However, of that 1.5, most of those funds have already been agreed to from past funding agreements. And those include such projects as the Gulf Stream, the Bohemian, the Perch, Allura, and Village Flats. There's actually, out of that 1.5, only $100,000 of discretionary money for us to spend this next year. And we did that because we really thought that, you know, we've done a lot in economic development and property acquisition over the years. And now we'd kind of like to focus more on neighborhood and housing programs to kind of circle back and go back into the neighborhoods and see if we can raise some values there and provide some more units, especially affordable units. The commercial grant program takes a slight decrease from 475 to 400, but there's approximately 200 of that. That is for grants that we have awarded this year. It's just we won't get them all closed out in time for October. So there's approximately $200,000 from this year and $200,000 next year with which to do facade, interior improvement, and signage grants. The tax increment revenue, this is our first year paying the mid, so there's $175,000 associated with that. Banners, decorations, we kind of always stick to the $27,000. We do banners on downtown 6th and 10th. And then also on Dixie Highway. Business assistance, we budgeted $100,000 there. We've spoken to the city about their ARPA funding. They received $16 million. They're actually talking about it tonight. They had asked us, the city had asked us to put $100,000 aside. They would like to put potentially $100,000 to $150,000 aside for us to do some kind of COVID relief for businesses. I don't know what that looks like or who specifically we would target with that. But the thought that was, you know, things are still pretty insecure as far as, you know, what's open and what's closed and whether or not the Delta variant will affect us. So we wanted to be prepared to have some kind of safety net for our businesses here in town. And then going down to neighborhood and housing programs, we've added a couple $100,000 for that. We've talked about some things. I've talked about some things with the mayor in regards to trying to go after some of the foreclosed homes that are in the CRA district. I just got that list of those today to see if potentially there's ones that we can foreclose on that don't have a huge mortgage and we can use for affordable housing. But staff has also come up with some other grant ideas, and we're going to bring those back to you at our next meeting. So on top of the possible, foreclosures and doing more affordable housing, we're also talking about maybe a weatherization program and some kind of home security or some kind of rehab program. And then
Just taking from Mark, I'm assuming we jump in at points where,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
So this is a change from the previous year, this line item for the neighborhood housing program.
Correct.
I think it seems like a good direction to go. I know that before I was on the board, you did a lot of this work with NSP2. That was part of a kind of a federal program that was designated. I was wondering if is there an intention of why we have 245 in there? Is there a vision for what that program is going to look like? If we're not in the framework of NSP, is there a different framework we're going to be working on? Or just kind of wanted to understand a little bit more where we got to that number and what's our.
The thought was
Okay.
actually to follow right along with NSP and use the rules and regulations that we've already established, since they're all accepted by HUD already, and the county. And we're still planning on working with our partners. We actually have one house right now, or one property, I should say, that we're working with the Community Land Trust of Palm Beach County. That's 127 South F. They'll be building that within a relatively short amount of time. We bought the property. They actually got the money to build the home. And then we also have another foreclosed property, I believe, on South F that we're looking to purchase now. We've been doing, we would potentially we turn over to one of our NSP partners, which could be happy to family, could be.
And it's currently legal family communities, right? Where the next thing not is building new or OFMO too. I don't know, it depends on the opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't know because I just do that. But and whether it's or demo one's new up to Turner and what if they can salvage that house and do for most of our partners are very comfortable having your habitat. They use the demo, already have some already on producing, really proud of them too. This one that we're looking at right now that probably could. So
kind of we had budget for, or it was the
going into Dallas. So if you'd like to go into funds,
Thank you for your question.
around $5,000 for familiar with downtown. There are old where all the businesses have to sit. We're just slowly going to take out them. We have one done, and right now it actually looks really, really good. We removed all the old pieces of iron, so we'll be doing that, and then we'll also be going through and doing all the signage for all downtown businesses, like first time to get all of that done, and then we'll probably take over because the city does it right now, putting in the new signage when that comes about. Projects and grants. I have $150,000 that I would like to transfer to capital project fund, and also in order for us to help fund some of the gap for 12-13, we can kind of go into that a little bit later. Buildings acquisitions, insurance for our policy is about $20,000. It really is $20,000 exactly for all the different things that we have. We have demo and disposition money, and that increases from 170 to 250. That includes a grant of $80,000 from the solid waste authority that we have gotten to, if we wanted to, use it for demo of RDC downtown. That could include the ones on First and K or L&M, but we know that we might not be using it, and if we don't use it, then it just goes back to them. And that also, that money, property management goes to the hatch. It goes to landscaping, electrical, pest control, maintenance, non-ad-val taxes. That includes, those properties that we own downtown. We also own a parking lot on Dixie Highway and some other older lots also in downtown. And then we have $17,500 budgeted for utilities, and those are for those particular properties. We like to keep, obviously, just we were not able to get the grants that we usually do get for Day of the Dead, and I know that it's become a tradition in a short amount of time. We really would very much like to put it on this year, so we put some extra money in there to allow that to happen, and also a lot of the things that take place in here, usually we rent the space out and we get a lot of donations. Obviously, we've been closed for quite a while on that. Debt service, we just have some agent and bank fees for $4,000. The transfer to debt service obviously covers our line of credit for $605,000, and the rest of it, just stays in our fund balance in case we need it moving forward. Any questions? I'll just quickly go over. I'm hoping our debt service budget is pretty self-explanatory. $655,000 to pay down our debt. And that includes both interest and principal, and we pay that off within the next 6 years. Capital project budget, is a little more detailed. In the revenues, you'll see the transfers from the CRA. That's $150,000 to help with the costs related to 1213. You, of course, will get to vote on that. We're actually asking them right now. We've done 2 bids, and I've actually asked that we do another set of bids because our numbers, like I said earlier, kind of came in 3 times over what we had budgeted for that building, and we've already value engineered it, and I can't value engineer it anymore. So hopefully the cost of construction will come down a little bit, and we'll be able to move forward with that. That 230 and the revenues, that includes the money from the solid waste authority. Staff is able to get $100,000, I believe it's $80,000, excuse me, for 1213. And then the rest of that is from the private foundation that we got to fund the rest of the construction for 1213. We've paid out a little bit of it for design, but we still have the majority of that money. The 108,000, oh, I'm sorry, 108,000, that is the, I apologize, $108,000, that's the SWA for the 230 is from the private foundation, my apologies. And then we have 163 that we're taking out of fund balance, and that goes down to the expenses to pay for the rest of the wayfinding. We're almost done with the wayfinding. We still have approximately 163,000 to pay out for some of the other signs that we're just waiting for permits.
Joan,
Yeah.
if I could ask real quick, on the SWA grant, it seems unlikely that we would spend it by November, if I'm reading the tea leaves here. Is that something that they have as a recurring obligation? If we, sort out what we want to do with Dougherty and, at the end of 2021 or beginning of 2022, could we apply for that same grant again, or did we kind of dismiss it?
If they offer it, we certainly could. I was hoping that we could ask for
extension or
for
something?
an extension on it.
Okay.
But it kind of all depends on, how much time,
Do we know what they're, do they do extensions often? Do you know, or? We don't need.
I'm guessing they would if they're related to demolition, but
Okay.
probably not more than a year.
Okay.
But they do offer it, usually offer it every year. So we've been
Okay.
pretty lucky in ascertaining that funding for quite a number of years.
Cool, thank you.
So down in facilities and expenses, you'll see the 488. That is currently what we have budgeted for the 1213 reconstruction. We're hoping to work within that number. We're still not quite there. We're still honestly about $200,000 over, but it's better than being $1 million over. So that is it for capital projects, debt service, and operating. Does anybody have any questions?
That's because I sent it to the email. Hold on.
That's what I'm gonna get.
Where is it?
You delete that first thing on what it is not the top of it. Maybe it depends on you to TBS. That's not.
All right. At this time, is there anyone from the public that wanted to comment or make a comment regarding the budget? Yeah,
It's on there.
Yep, it will be on the website. If you don't mind just giving your name and address so that we have it for minutes. But yes, we're going to publish this on the website. Okay. Did you hear that, Emily?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we're going to publish it. It'll be, and we're not advertising to be done for 8 reasons, right? And we're going to be looking for that.
It should be on there right now.
That's a good question. It's one of the most important things we do all year. It's a little dry, but this is very, very important. Any other comments from the public? Okay, come back to the board. We don't need to make any action, right? This comes back next month. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's move to action agenda. Item A is a commercial grant for interior improvement commercial facade grant 1032 and 1014 North Dixie Highway. Let's hear about it.
Okay, good. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Chris Rosick, we're CRA. Grants, commercial grants for you guys to review and hopefully approve tonight. I'm going to go over the first one, which is going to be 1032, 1014 North Dixie. As most of you guys know, this is property's been sitting vacant for a while, but it's the former funeral home that's been there for at least 30 plus years, probably longer. That property's recently sold to Mr. Edward Jones and his group, which is Graduate Services Miami. They are the parent company of Herf Jones. Herf Jones, as some of you guys may know, does the high school graduation rings, pictures, caps and gowns. I think they do college stuff as well. But they want to bring their offices and headquarters up to Lake Worth. So they recently purchased a property, which is about 3/4 of an acre. And they're going to do some major renovations, major remodeling, demolition at the site. Like I said, they recently closed on the property about a month and a half ago for $1.7 million. You get another $1.5 million of renovation and demolition into it. So they applied for some grants, the commercial facade and the interior improvement grants to, again, completely renovate the large structure that was the funeral home, both inside and outside, and then do demolition of the outside or the out parcels, which kind of garages, and totally redo the parking lot, landscaping, lighting, so on and so forth. They expect this business to attract thousands of students each year as they come in for their graduation services, and also hire a couple dozen new employees as well. So we're really excited about this project. They applied for the grants, grants that we offer. They're asking for $50,000 to use towards the renovation work. That would be $25,000 for the interior improvement, $25,000 for the facade improvements. Mr. Ed Jones is online right now to answer any questions, as far and including myself. They're currently going through the process of doing the designs, going through the site plan review process with the city, and they hope to begin construction later this year. So that's all I have. Again, their total grant request was for $50,000 from the CRA, and we support it. Staff totally supports our request. Any questions for me? Otherwise, we can bring on Mr. Jones to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chris from the board? You answered all mine, Chris. I'd love to hear from the applicant.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I'll only make the one correction at the beginning. Well, we're not the parent company. We're just distributors. Matter of fact, Herf Jones is just a coincidence. Herf Jones side, but we're distributors of Herf Jones product. We also own a separate company that's called HJ. In Miami, it's HJ Miami Photography, which does school photography. So we bring in Miami, we get about 20,000 students that come by our office every year. Half of those are getting their senior pictures. And then the other half is split between students coming in to order rings and also to pick up their camping gowns if they late order and stuff like that. So we kind of expect at least half of that within 3 years in Palm Beach. Max and I own Graduate Service in Miami, and then we distribute products. So we really just moved up in there. We're joining forces with we're moving to Del Rey. We just purchased that Herf Jones contract or your area. We're retaining all of their staff and their salespeople because they have all the contracts already. So we have a real nice base already here. We're going to move them out into Lake property. My business partner's on the call as well, Max Nieto in the corner there. Well, he's in the corner of my screen. How about yours? And I apologize for the casual close here. I'm on vacation, and when Chris told me about the call, I'm like, oh my God, it's sweater. They kicked me out of the house because they sent me outside of the porch out here. So get rid of my hood on. That's about all I have. Unless you have questions for us, more than happy to answer.
Questions for the applicant from the board? Yes, Brent.
This is Brent. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the interest in the city and the property. And I just wanted to ask you, what was it that drew you to this particular location for the businesses with the traffic of students and such?
It's central for all of Palm Beach. One of our students go from Boca. We also have contracts in Martin County. So it just seemed very, very cool. Chris Lemming was kind of influential in saying, about the CRA and telling us about your district, what was going on there. We went and looked at several along that strip. That particular building just happens to be perfect for photography. It's two buildings. The double-story one happens to have 13-foot ceilings on the bottom floor and the upper floor, which we need for our backdrops to roll down. So it was actually just a great fit for the way it's going to work. Once we got it and cleaned it up, it's not pretty inside right now at all. It looks as bad as the outside. So we'll get it all cleaned up, and we're actually thinking. Chris has some slides of the basic layout. We're using LDG. John, I can't say his last name correctly. Cesarde. So we're using that group. They did some designs on, so we're kind of taking the idea of the mural from Tuppence because we're right next door, and probably going to have a mural similar on one part of the building where it says that beach theme, and the kids throwing their caps up in the air and inbounds on beach, kind of thing, and add to that look. I guess is what that kind of features.
Thank you. I think this is awesome. I'm really excited about this. I mean, what a cool opportunity to bring to their city and play part. So much. I appreciate your interest in that.
Thank you. Appreciate this time.
Other comments or questions for the applicant from the board? I just had a quick one. So how many folks would be having their primary job here in this building?
So inside the building, it's not perfect because we're seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
During the summer, when we're super heavy with seniors taking pictures, there'll probably be about 30 of them in there.
Yeah.
After that, it slows down and more of them are hosting on schools taking pictures.
Sure.
Stuff like that. So it just fluctuates by season. Like graduation season and during the summer, we'll probably have 8,000 to 10,000 students come through during the summer that come through for their pictures. So that'll be the most. But probably 50 to 60 total employees will be hired for that area. That will be some little in Miami.
That's amazing. That's a big impact too. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, thank you. We're going to open up to the public for some comments, and then we'll come back to the board for a motion. Thank you for the description. Anyone from the public wish to see on the line? All right, see none. Come to the board. Is there any other discussion? Feel free to have it. If not, I'm looking for a motion.
This is Drew. I move approval.
Second.
This is Brendan. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And Emily, I think Brent beat Brendan by just a little bit on the second.
Got it.
At least that was my call.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I appreciate you locating your business in Lake Worth and using a Lake Worth architect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, agenda item B, an interior improvement grant at 502 Lucerne Avenue.
Okay, now this is something a little different here. 502 Lucerne Avenue, they are applying for the CRA Interior Improvement Grant. You guys, most of you may be familiar with this property. This was the former South Shore restaurant from many years ago. 2 years ago, owners came to propose a gourmet French restaurant at the property. That never came to be. The board at that time did grant the property $1,000 in property. However, never came to grant it out. The Jones property, we still bring out for you and stuff. They have for conservative owners. Currently, it's going to be Blue Grill. And then there would be special hearing for the Peters family to totally rebate sites which were really not done from the previous the kind of sat and been working and started up and running for. So yes, this did $1,000 effort for increase build of no more based on the information that we if this Peters family work is completed and work is or the rest are open online. I don't know if the team is there. He's online. Yeah, I hear you, Doug. Where are you? We got you, and we got Nadine and so if Julian and Nadine the Doug muted, we hear you. Request that amount. If you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer them.
Any support? I just had a quick comment more for the public. This is a wide idea for us to pay out after the work's done. In case it's not, right? And we always hope it will.
Correct. As for example, as the previous restaurant, which was a real good applicant 2 years ago, just never came to be, and nothing was paid out at that time.
And I was excited about front of you, but I love me some Caribbean food. I'd love to hear from the applicant.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Julian Brown. I'm one of the applicants who, participate and take over this location. Thank you guys for the opportunity to present our business to you guys. Well, we was in search of finding some place to do our business. We do our research and report to find this location was the perfect location for us. Now, Nadine Ma'am was also living in Newport, so that's how we first discovered what's going on there, and then we do our research. Then we run into Doug and find out that he has space available. Now, what we're going to bring to the table, we're going to hire about 20 to 30 employees. And with Caribbean food, it's a mixture of Caribbean food and seafood. I'm going to make my partners chip in, my wife, and also I think Nadine is on the line.
Yes, and I think this would be very beneficial to the community. It would bring in quite a bit of revenue since the facility been sitting there for a while now. So hopefully this will be approved so we can bring money into the city.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? None? Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll come back to the board. Looking for a motion, or if there needs to be further discussion, that too.
I move to approve the commercial grant as recommended by staff.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, back to the action agenda. Item C is a redesign for Village Flats.
I got, this is mine. As many of you probably remember, we did an agreement with Inhabit back in 2020 for the development of multifamily units along Lake and Lucerne on those multiple properties that we bought with line of credit funds and also NSP funds. There was going to be a total of 44, 42 units, something like that. The lots in question are ones that we own between F and E. Also, we own some between E and D, and then we also own a corner on the Lucerne side between C and D. So there was going to be 3 separate buildings, multifamily that were going to be built between stories. Since that time, obviously there's been a lot of changes in the market. There's been changes with the cost of construction, and also we have a new city commission. I'm not going to go into the reasons why they would like to change, because we have hopefully Tim Carey on the line, who's going to kind of explain why he would like to change the project from a multifamily one to one that is a townhouse project. Tim, are you there?
Yes, Sam. Can I be, is everyone hearing me?
Yep, you're
Perfect.
on.
Okay, Joan, do you or Chris have images, or should I share a screen to show what we're thinking here?
They have everything in their packet.
Everyone's looking at it?
So they
Great.
have the old version, the new version.
Got it. Perfect. So
Map.
just to give some background, we did get essentially phase 1 and phase 2 site plan approved by the previous city commission. It was at times a little bit, there were a few trip falls that we avoided, but we were able to get it through. And then as Joan spoke to with the building that you guys are working on at Lake, you know, we didn't anticipate, you know, coming into a once in 100-year pandemic, and that had certain effects on the market and certain ripple effects that really resonated all throughout many different areas of the construction industry. I'm sure, as Joan has discussed on that particular building on Lake, it's not just that everyone has heard, you know, either in the Wall Street Journal or the USA Today, whatever you want to read these days, that the cost of lumber and other materials has, it went up about 300 to 400%. It's since come down, but it's still above that which it was pre-pandemic. So the cost of materials has gone up, but more than that, the supply chain that we're seeing is being constrained in every which way imaginable. 3 to 4 months in just about anything you could possibly need. So we're having a tough time kind of planning that out. But as Joan said, the cost overall is 3 times greater than anything we had seen when we got site plan approval. And we couldn't have foreseen for that. There was nothing we could really do about it. So we kind of had to go a little bit back to the drawing board. And when we did that, we kind of realized that this particular property, and it's really when I speak to that, as you're looking at the site plan, if you have it in front of you, the horseshoe shaped lot happens to be, obviously it's a funny shaped lot because those 2 properties in the middle were not able to be acquired by either the CRA or me or any brokers or agents I reached out to. Everyone tried to pitch to these folks, and you know, it's their right to keep it, and that's what they felt like doing, and that's fine. But it presented us with certain obstacles, namely there's above ground lines running through or essentially bisecting that horseshoe. And then in addition, there's also a sewer line back there. And that creates certain site costs that we couldn't have imagined. I've worked with Ryan Thomas, he owns Thomas Engineering out of Fort Lauderdale, in a number of different projects. And he had said to me at least 2 or 3 times, he's never seen anything like this, and that I should probably budget for twice that which is normally allotted for site costs. So in terms of the costs that we had to budget for, it was 3 times that for labor and materials, and then double that for site costs. So we kind of had to go back to the drawing board and really figure out how we were going to attack these issues, because the lots aren't going to change. You know, those lines aren't, the electric lines aren't going to not bisect. The sewer line, obviously, we're not going to remove that. That's not possible. And then, as some folks might recall, we had a few neighbors that complained about the trash and how that was located. And we had a few management issues as well, just kind of fitting into that property. So at some point we realized, if these are all the hurdles that are in place, why don't we just go back to the drawing board? And what struck us was how easily townhomes have fit into this area across the street, and how they really address a number of different issues that really make it easier for us to construct some nice homes that we're actually quite excited about in an easy fashion. So trash obviously gets immediately resolved pretty quickly, and you don't have to deal with a dumpster and where you place it and how a truck gets in there, whether it's a front loader or a back loader, all that gets resolved. In terms of that utility line and the sewer, also resolved easily because the driveway is right there. In terms of parking is also an issue on that particular lot because of the horseshoe. As it so happens, part of the reason that our building was so expensive was that it had to be cantilevered because we couldn't get enough parking for the units that we had. So there were costs all over the place that just happened to skyrocket. With that said, parking now becomes easier with these particular townhomes. We still have every intention of obviously meeting the 25% live work component. We have a nice floor plan, which I should have in about a week, and I can share with you then, which will allow den space on the bottom, garage space on the bottom, and then a living unit up top in the 2 floors. So we're quite excited about it. We think based on our market research, which as some of you know, my partner and I, Nestor Rivera, who lives over on Palmway, he and I have had tremendous success with townhomes. We're able to actually, throughout the pandemic, we never had anyone who had any problem paying rent, and our rent is lower than market rate. But mostly because we have large units with a backyard that can really hold a family pretty well. And no one during the pandemic had any issue getting the funds to us. And we were more than willing to work with one particular family who needed funds at that time. But these townhomes are highly sought after. They provide a lot of space to families. And it's much, much easier to raise a family, as you can imagine, in 1,200 or 1,400 square feet versus a tiny 2-2 or even a 2-1 that's only 800 or 900 square feet. So we're excited about the market potential and who we think will be bringing in families. We've also discussed with Joan the fact that we will have rentals, but we also be selling a few because we'd like to see some permanent home ownership in the area. I was actually walking the area again this morning with some local property owners, and they were expressing to me how excited they were to see what we could do. And they felt that townhomes would be a good fit. So it seems like the neighbors are more receptive to what we're doing. And as Joan mentioned, the political winds have shifted, and that's fine. As Joan also mentioned, we did have a meeting with the mayor, and she was very receptive to this plan. So I think it's a better fit for the area. We are ready to go. Our architects are already working on moving forward. We had no idea that COVID would hit. We had no idea that it would have the ramifications it did in so many different facets of the construction industry. But we've tried to stay fairly nimble here, and we believe that this pivot is right for the area and that we can do things pretty quickly if we move forward.
Thank you. Questions for staff or for Tim?
I do, Mark. So Tim, thank you very much. I was curious, you said that you're thinking about selling some and renting some. Do you have any idea what that mix might be?
I don't yet, only because we're still working on total number of units, and that has to do with a site plan with certain setbacks, which the architect got right the first time, wrong the second time, and now he's correcting. So that changes how many units you can put in a row. There's only so many units you can put in a row, and then you have to have a breezeway or some kind of breakup. So that'll determine how many units we have. Once I know the total number of units, I can probably get a better guess of what we'll sell. But yeah, I understand that, home ownership is important in Lake Worth. The person I met with this morning said that at one point Lake Worth was 78% rental. And that, to me, that's just it's a transient class, which is just problematic. You want people staying permanently in Lake Worth. We want to raise the tax revenue, and we want people to be proud of where they live, and we want them staying there permanently in Lake Worth. I know I believe that. So if I can help in any way and kind of permanently place people there, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say it's also kind of unevenly distributed around the city. And so this part where this redevelopment's happening is where even more of the rental is compared to some of the eastern side where more of the home ownership is. And I think you described there is potential for, I think it was like studio space downstairs, or
right?
Is it?
So,
so
I may have
like a
mentioned this
retail
before.
component, or?
Yep. So part of the funds that were acquired for these particular lots were through NSP2 funds, which requires that a live work element be built out to 25% of the units. We're essentially designing a design that can be used as a live work unit, or a playroom or whatever you want for kids on that ground floor. The garage will be on the back side, and then the front side will have that den that will allow an acupuncturist or an accountant or a lawyer, anyone who can have a little front hallway and then their office off to the side with perhaps a half bath there as well. That's the goal. But at the same time, that can be used easily for a bedroom, a playroom, what have you. So there's a lot of different options, and there's some flexibility that's really created there quite easily, far more easily, I'll note, than the previous plans, which were tricky to kind of come together. And again, we were putting together a puzzle that was really, really quite difficult with the cantilevered parking and the parking outside and the live work units. It wasn't necessarily easy. So we really do feel like this is a great remedy to everything that ails us at this particular lot.
Thanks. I support that. I think we have an interesting mix along this corridor with the buildings we've already done, that you'll see people that do yoga 2 or 3 days a week or something in that first floor. And I think it's, being this corridor, I think it's important to have continuation of that, not just straight residential. So I think that's good. I have a question for you, Joan. How much should we put towards the support for 42 units? And now that it's going to be 17 units, is that something we should be thinking about? I mean, we're kind of getting a different number of housing units, maybe the better fit, maybe the best fit for our climate right now, but how much we put in, should we consider that when we look at what we're getting back as reduced number of housing units?
Well, we put in as far as what the purchase price was for all of these.
Yeah, I guess how much has the CRA invested right now? So we have the purchase price, and do we have TIF rebate, or what is?
I support the change. I
Of
support
course,
the
if these are for sale, and just obviously we wouldn't be giving tip back. For the ones that are for sale, we would only be giving money back for the ones that are rental. So it's one thing to think about.
I think I just got kicked off this, but
I think I
I support the change. I think it makes sense. I thought it would be really hard to point units on the parcels, especially the horseshoe thing. I'm just wondering, we put in an amount, we voted on an amount, assuming we did X amount of housing, and I think the affordable price has to be fine. Should we?
Well, this tonight is just to approve the new design so they can move forward with their designs. I still have to bring back the actual agreement. So I can put those numbers together for you for next month.
And for the benefit of everybody, I was on the selection committee, and I don't think for this, and this was by far, even if this is proposal, this is still one of the best that we saw. I don't want to, like, some of the things that we've seen, we're comparing, a couple different proposals. And I don't think it was fair if there was somebody with 30 minutes and now switching something. But this was still with 17. It's the only one other person had a couple of units was several parcels on and this is still a better deal than the other offering we had. I don't know if it's the best way to get it for that, but I'm just saying, thinking about it as a steward of public money, when you drop 25 units, think about it. So, I'm sorry.
I'll have that information for you. I
Thanks,
just
Brent.
didn't want him to move any further with the drawings, because this is the last obvious site plan of the multifamily was passed. Planning and zoning, so they're all ready to go, but I didn't want them to move and do more drawings on this, because it's not quite there yet. If the board wasn't amenable to change it from multifamily to town.
True.
So, yeah, so just for you, Joan, So how would, I had the same sort of line of questions that Brett did. So I guess you see this as a good deal for the CRA. Okay. Where do they have to, what's their steps after this? Do they have to go back through zoning? They have to go back through the commission?
They don't have to go to commission, they have to do an amendment for their site plan, so they have to go back.
Okay, and us, but not the commission? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay. I just had a quick question. You think you have any issues if some are for sale and are under private ownership and some are rental with like maintenance and whatever kind of homeowner associations, hodgepodge? Like, I'm just asking if you foresee that as an issue.
No, and it's not an issue just because, as I mentioned, Nestor and I are in the neighborhood. We're already managing properties. So this number of units adding to that, we'll still be able to manage rentals, and obviously the ownership. The ownership, obviously, that'll be on the owners to maintain the properties. But no, adding this many units, we can still manage this fairly easily.
Okay, and then Joan, I think you were on mute. We couldn't hear you. Okay, no, that was my only comment.
Sure.
Anything else from the board for the applicant or staff? Okay. Okay, well, you can work on that. I'm going to open it up to the public for comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll come back to the board. Emily, if we're having internet problems, should we do like a roll call that you could hear for if we have a motion and a second to vote? Or how should we do that?
We can do that. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yes. If you'd
Okay.
like, we can do a roll call.
All right, well, so we can do a roll call, but I'm looking, is there any more comments from the board? That's fine. If not, I'm looking for a motion. Okay. We have Leah is recommending approval of the new design. Is that the motion that we need to make? Okay. Do we have a second on that? Okay, Commissioner Bloxton seconds that. Emily, if you would call the roll, I'd be glad to parrot the answers.
Great. Mr. Mark Rickards,
Mark Rickards, yes.
Drew Bartlett,
Yes.
Leah Furch,
Leah? Yes. Leah's a yes.
Brendan,
Brendan? Oh,
Yes, yes,
Carla,
Carla? Is a yes.
and Brent.
And Brent? Is a yes. Motion passes unanimously.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for your patience. We'll move forward to action agenda item D. Unless my fellow board members think they need 5 minutes for like a recess and getting back online. Are we good?
I don't think, I'm gonna join on my phone. I can't seem to get there.
Okay.
We're definitely having difficulties on the.
Oh, you just got back on? Okay, bear with us if you're listening in online. I'm just going to give it 30 seconds here to see if we can get back so people can hear the presentation. But item D is the amendment to the development agreement between the CRA and 1000 Lake LLC. Yeah, it's 7:20. Let's give it a shot till like 7:22 and then we'll start either way. Recommence. What's that? Oh man, see, I wish I was an expert. One sec.
Looks like most everyone is connected.
Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're moving on to the consideration of the amendment to the developer development agreement between the CRA and 1000 Lake.
What?
Attorneys for a number of years who left all the windows and the doors open, and it suffered a lot of damage over the years, besides the fact that it's also historic and extremely old.
I'm sorry, Joan. Can everyone hear Joan? I can hear it through my ears, but I'm not sure through the speakers.
Mark, I can't hear it.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear you, Joan.
You're not on your microphone or. No. I can't hear her.
Oh, wait, try that again. Click that.
Okay.
That?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, though.
Okay, much better.
Okay. 1000 Lake Avenue. Mr. Shaw was nice enough to buy the building and then pour a lot of money into it to try to bring it back to its splendor pre-hurricane back in, I believe, in the 40s. We gave him an extension, I believe, in 2020, obviously due to COVID and a lot of the issues that stemmed from COVID. And he's made considerable progress since then. He's had a number of issues with the city and trying to get the permits that he needs in time. And I believe there's still some issues with that. However, he's been working through that. And as you can tell, when you look at the building, all the windows have been removed and the new windows have been ordered, and he's just waiting to put those in. He was nice enough to draft a letter to us to kind of explain where he has been and where he is today. But obviously, due to COVID and a lot of other issues, Mr. Shaw would like to have an extension because the original extension that we gave expires, I believe, either this month or next month. And obviously, he's not going to have his CO in time. But Mr. Shaw is here in the audience. I can see you. If maybe you'd like to come up and just give us a quick overview of where you are and what you were asking for, and then the board can consider the amendment that is attached to the agreement for consideration.
Right about that. Thanks for continuing. Before I just talk about the building, I just wanted to introduce a couple of people that came with me today.
Sure.
General Brad Spacey and Randy Watts. I wanted to introduce them because of the fact that many years ago we also took over building 1013 Lucerne with the CRA's help, and we renovated that building. We're fortunate enough to create a company downstairs that employs about 45 people today. And General Brad Spacey, who just retired from the Air Force as a two-star general, he was most recently the wing commander at the largest Air Force base, Wright-Patterson. And Randy Watts, he's a federal fire inspector. We have a new company called Altivac that makes alternative evacuation devices and safety products for the general construction industry. They decided to relocate the business into 1013. And we're going to take that business, it's going to build our offices on the second floor of 1013. And in the back of the building, we're going to build a demo area to show how these safety products work. We'll attract a lot of people from around, not just Florida, but across the country who are attracted and interested in these products. So I wanted you guys to meet the value of the impact of what we're going to do to the city.
I think I can't add anything more to what Joan said. I have thought many times about I could sell the movie rights to the money pits. But at the end of the day, when I'm walking around the building, and to the extent you guys ever have a free moment, I would encourage you to walk into the building. When you look at the splendor of the original building and the walls and the bricks of what that building was 40, 50, 60 years ago, you'll be amazed every time you walk in. And it's taken us a long time to get there. And I appreciate how the CRA has been working with us to get there. But most recently, as we started to take down the windows, which unfortunately took us about 4 or 5 months more than we expected to get the permits from the city, which delayed the whole schedule, we found more structural issues with the building. So in order to make sure that the building stands up before we put people in there, we need to do some structural reinforcements to the buildings. We have ordered the windows, but the windows also need to be remeasured now after the structural borings are done. So it's just extended the time frame a bit. We remain committed to the development. We remain committed to the city. I probably spent, as Joan said, 7 times the value of what I bought the building for in the building already. And I'm probably going to spend 5 times more to finish the building up by next year. So I appreciate the flexibility that the city of Lakeport with Beach CRA will show, allowing us to kind of keep this project going so that we actually have a historical building come back to life in the city. I know that there's a development agreement that we put in front of you, and I appreciate the accommodations. There's one other specific thing that was added to the document. Can I speak to that, Joan?
Absolutely.
Which is a penalty clause that was added by, I guess perhaps your council, which suggests that if the building is a day late after July 15, 2022, there's a $100 a day penalty. I appreciate the spirit of where that penalty wants to go to hold me accountable. But I think given that I've spent the kind of money I've spent in the building, I'm already accountable. And the thing that concerns me is not holding me accountable. It's to manage the delays that we've seen. I never expected that the permits that I filed on December 30th per what was agreed to in our development plan would take until April 13th to get approved. And I just can't predict that from happening. I certainly have put in the capital, and certainly am continuing to put in the capital. I just hope that I'm not held to a level of accountability that could be punitive to me when I don't control all of the factors around me. So I thank you for considering what I have to say, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
If I can, on the second amendment, Mr. Shaw is talking about the underlying area, and I'd like to make it underline in section 5, please, section 6. This was in our previous agreement, having some kind of penalty for delay. So David thought just to let the board know we would like to insert it. That's just certainly up to the board. Not necessarily sure that it's necessary, but we can either leave that in or take it out and move forward with the second.
Okay. Thank you, Joan. So just, but before we open discussion, the attachment C is what's being proposed from staff. And Mr. Shaw is just recommending that the underlined portion on paragraph 6 go away. Okay, just wanted to be clear about that. Questions from the board? Yes.
First, I'd like to say, Mr. Shaw, I think you did an amazing job on the building over here. I saw it pre, during, and post, and it's incredible. I was there for you did a tour a while back, and we had like some hors d'oeuvres. Yeah. It was fantastic. What can I believe? Oh, please. With that being said, I agree with your position on the penalty. It seems to me to be somewhat unnecessary in scope of everything that you're doing and what's being done to this building and what you've done over here. So, for what it's worth.
Thank you. Other comments?
Yeah, if I may, Mark. So the only thing that we're changing is removing the $100 a day penalty or extending time frame. Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to put that in there, then the last one, penalty, but not necessarily.
Okay. And the letter that Mr. Shaw submitted had also mentioned the repurchase option. Is that not something that's considered in this or? Okay.
Well, no, it is considered.
It's withdrawn.
It's considered in terms of being withdrawn. It gets deleted. Right.
Okay, so I wanted, that was the question I had was if the, man, it's like double echo here. If, so we're removing the repurchase option. Now, when I joined the board, there was a small celebration, I think the first day I joined the board, that we had sold the building because I don't think we want to repurchase the building because Mr. Shaw is a much better owner of that building than we were, and given all of the investment he's made. But as far as contractually, if we are releasing that, is there anything that we're giving up as far as, again, I just want to think of it as a steward of the public trust. I think Mr. Shaw is a wonderful owner of the building and is investing in the community as seen by the businesses that he's bringing in. But before I vote to relinquish that repurchase, if you could just explain to me what other role we have or
What's our
what the
leverage?
intent of having that was and why we feel comfortable releasing it, I guess.
Well, I think the intent of it was for us to make sure that he said he was going to sign on the document. I think that he's done that already, but it seems so long way to go. Just because the building isn't even structurally sound, that we, which we originally thought it was. So I don't know if you want to share how much you put in the building already, but it's probably way more than we think.
We're more than happy to share. Spent $2.1 million on top of the $300,000 I bought the building for. So that doesn't get me pretty close to fully funded, out of my house. And then I have another $1.5 million to spend before it gets completed.
Okay.
So, and I had asked for this repurchase option actually a year ago when you guys gave me the flexibility to extend my timeline. And I didn't push it at that point because I thought I needed to prove to you guys that I was 100% committed. Since then, I think we probably spent close to another $1.25 million, $1.4 million in the building. And the problem is in that building, you can't really see it when you walk by. It's not like the Bohemian when you can see all these floors and the frames coming out of the ground. This is such a delicate building that a lot of the work has been done on the inside before we can even get to the outside. That's why I would obviously love to have you guys come and see the building. And at this point, it just gives me a little bit of comfort to know that the city values what we've done in terms of putting significantly more than we bought the building for. And there's no way I can sort of walk away from this now. I've got businesses that I own in town attracting people and employees to the city of Lake Worth. I've even bought homes that were boarded up in Lake Worth and put employees in there because they couldn't find places to live in Lake Worth. One in the CRA zone on 1301 South First Avenue, First Street. I appreciate that the CRA wants to have potentially my foot to the fire, but I think I would offer you the premise that I think I've kind of shown my good faith, and I continue to show my good faith. I'll ask you guys to consider that.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments from the board?
So I guess the thought process is we've gotten our money out of it. Right. Right. Okay. I'm good with removing it personally.
I echo that. I don't want this building back, and I'm very impressed. No, listen. At this point, I'm actually challenged to wonder. It's like that old saying about the Greek ship where you replace one plank at a time. At what point is it a different ship? You've gone way above and beyond pouring money into a building that a lot of people, I think, would have walked away from, if not the moment they walked through the front door the first time, when you're $2 million deep and need to spend more money. So I'm very grateful for your commitment to Lake Worth and also to this building. I have no issues with these personally. Any other comments though? I'll close the board discussion. Is there any other comments from the public? I think everyone in the public is part of this project. Yeah. Welcome. All right, I'll come back to the board. We need to be careful how we make the motion. Just remember, it's a little complicated. Exhibit C, you need to address what the intent is with the motion, but I'm looking for a motion.
This is Drew. I will move approval of Exhibit C as the amendment with the removal of the Section 6 as drafted.
Does that work? Is there a second on that?
I'll second that, Brent.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sure. I agree.
Thank you.
Okay. And you all are welcome to stay. That we passed your item. You've been more than patient. Don't feel like you have to.
That's public meeting code. So you can leave
Yes. Executive Director's report.
Panel up at the casino. We have some really great speakers. A lot of them are our NSP partners, or former NSP partners, at 6 o'clock. And we also are working on our annual report. As I mentioned earlier, the city hasn't finished up the audit yet, but we have our numbers from it. So our annual report is actually in printing, so we should have it Thursday in time for that. Also working on helping the neighborhood association put together their guidebook. For those of you who've been around for a while, and we do something on every few years, it has some information on the neighborhood and some business hacks and things like that. We're helping them design and also print that, so staff is working on that. We have some guest speakers coming up. I'm excited for Jamie and Cody. For those of you who don't know him, he's kind of a good kind of geek like us. We're having him give a talk, I think, in August. We also Destination Lake Worth, which we've done for the last 2 years, but this time it'll be on Zoom. Kind of just goes over retail, who's looking in Lake Worth, what popular nurse can do to try to attract retail to the business, what the demographics are, and really how to position ourselves in the way that we can try to attract those kinds of businesses that we would like to see here. I also redid the progress report, just kind of updating some of the individual portions of it, although we did send it out last month. And most of it was related to kind of cover L&M, just to let you know that we're still working with Treasure Coast on potentially doing some kind of downtown charrette, and we'll bring that scope of services to you next month, also with some options of potentially what we could do or not do in order to move forward with that in the first of May. And I believe that is all I have.
Questions for Joan?
Yeah, I got one.
Yes.
You may have mentioned it earlier when I was maybe distracted, but where is the city and on the Gulfstream Hotel redevelopment? Where is that in the process?
They actually have done another site plan. I don't believe that it was something that would have been embraced. So they're kind of working back and forth, trying to get it to a point where it would be advantageous to bring it in front of the commission.
Is there a time frame on that? Any idea? No. Okay, and then the DOT study, is that waiting for a commission approval?
No, unfortunately, it just had
Yeah, the Dixie Highway.
No, everything's already been signed and ready to go. It's just a matter of us getting the go ahead to schedule a couple of meetings with the warrant.
Okay.
So we have sent all the necessary paperwork over to the CRA.
Mhm.
And then we wait for that, and then once that happens, we'll start the SCBs to do public meetings to talk about the different kind of business.
Okay, so that's not waiting on the commission. I thought there was something.
No, I mean, when we did the presentation of the commission, there was kind of mixed feelings.
Mhm.
And I didn't really get a consistently great, and so we're looking for something, well, kind of see how it goes. So that was a little disappointing, only because I think we all had to do it, and it was not great to change the way.
Sure.
It's set, obviously, but now we're gonna move forward and spend more money on doing other meetings to understand that.
Right. The thought process being the public meetings may give the commission what they need to support or not support. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. And is Deco Green scheduled yet for the commission meeting next week?
I think I sent everybody the new sign. In the meantime, they have a public meeting scheduled on Sunday. It's going to take place here at front of the road right across the street. And for the people that join it, just to get some public input. We also have a survey that we can take that everyone is involved in.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're going to move forward. All the way up to the public office in the front and actually take a vote.
Can you explain that? I heard you say that earlier. I'm trying to.
So, I think their original intention was to have a game on building on Dixie Highway and how we comment on that and thought that we have different uses in on it. So we would have a little play area for kids, and it would have a little exercise park, a dog park, and the rest of it would kind of be used for open space for the use of fence or people that just come and trees. But the feedback from the commission was that it's not necessary to have a big open space like that. It's actually not a good idea. So they went back to the drawing board and said, okay, well, since you don't like the height either, we'll take a story off of the building and then we'll put another building where the public plaza would happen. Now it still has a small dog park and a small playground for children, but the front, when you're driving through, will have a smaller building, another smaller building, another smaller building, and then the back will be the 6-story.
I need to, yeah, I'm not totally clear.
You should watch the commission meeting.
Yeah, now I really don't want to.
So that park area still exists. It's just not
Exists, it's behind the front building.
right.
So there'd be kind of like sandwiched in between the two buildings would be kind of a small park area for kids and walk out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there?
And there's no artificial turf or anything like that. I'm just kidding.
Other questions for Joan? Okay. Okay. Anything else from anyone? Thank you, Joan. All right, let's go to board members' comments. Let me start with you, Brendan.
I don't have much to say, Mark. I just look forward to seeing everybody when I get back. Thanks for handling the meeting perfectly, and I look forward to seeing the results of our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bloxham.
Spaces, we probably have about 12 spaces that aren't finished, and that's because of all the rain that we had lately. The artists haven't been able to complete it, but most of the spaces have been spoken for. And so I really encourage you to please come on Saturday. It's from 2 to 6 and bring your families, because I think that this is something that the entire city can be proud of. And we've had 64 artists work on, different artists work on this wall, and they committed their time, their heart, their talent, and for no pay. Most of them have not been paid, you know. So please come and share with us, because I think this is really an outstanding event for the city.
Thank you. Brent.
I'll just say, I think kind of reading the tea leaves from Abbott kind of described Birch and the townhomes and looking at our budget. It seems like the communication kind of aligning ourselves a little with their vision and I think that's a nice positive thing. I'm glad to see that. You run through this list of progress and achievements, and I can't wait to see how shine exterior. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that's happening. Finding our way and we find that creative. So that's good to see.
Thank you. Leah.
All of this. I show up today with all of my tech and can't get anything to work. So initially, I'd like to say I would love to be at some of the weekend activities. I'll be at my in-laws in Pennsylvania starting tomorrow. I would much prefer to be at the Wall of Unity on Saturday. Second, Joan, I think the 24-to-1 ratio of private to public contribution is amazing. I think we should be crowing about that. So much people, when they see you coming, say, don't tell me about the 24-to-1, because I think that's remarkable. Next, I think we've shown, staff and Joan have shown, the folks you guys are working with have shown a lot of nimbleness in light of the changes and requested changes to a lot of our development projects. And finally, I think it's exciting to be in this part of the process to see a lot of these non-performing buildings and lots become performing. Because I've been in Lake Worth since 2011, and a lot of these projects that we're working on now are going into places that haven't been inhabited since 2011. So it's been over a decade of just seeing places kind of fall down or vacant lots continue to be vacant, and it's really encouraging. Thank you.
I just basically I've been following a lot of projects with the commission and how we're trying to make progress on betterment of Lake Worth and Lake Worth Beach. And I just really appreciate, Joan, you and your staff's perseverance, to try to keep things moving forward and try to create that a community here where the business has more predictability. I think it's still a work in progress. And I'm willing to help however I can with whatever conversations I can. I can't say that I've been successful. But, I think I appreciate your perseverance and stick to it in this with you and your staff to try to keep things going forward. All right. Thank you.
Well said. I really don't have anything to add. I hope everyone has a great next month. And there's a lot of good activities coming up. I hope to see us all there. Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.